Alright lads, this is going to be a very hard video for me to do because on one hand, I really like the Dioscuri twins and I think they're an absolutely phenomenal unit, probably one of the best arts DPS servants in the entirety of the game, and they pair phenomenally with Castoria, who coincidentally enough is coming out in a couple of months. But on the other hand, I don't want people to summon for Dioscuri and then not be able to get Castoria, so just understand that as much as I'm going to praise the Dioscuri twins in this video, if you are a free-to-play player or you don't spend a whole lot of money on the game, like maybe you have a tight budget or something, I would still advise pumping everything you have into Castoria. Because at the end of the day, she's so good that you can realistically use any art servants with her and you'll have a functional team. It's just getting people like Dioscuri and like in the future, people like Melusine, it just makes those arts teams even more just explosive. But that being said, if you can afford to spend a couple multis trying to go for Dioscuri, then I think they're absolutely worth going for, as I'll get into this video. By the way, if you enjoy daily FGO content, make sure you leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, come out to the Twitch streams where I stream every weekday. All that good stuff is in the description down below. But with all that being said, let's just dive right into the Dioscuri twins. Starting off with their hits, which, truth be told, the only thing you really need to know about their hits is that they secretly have 4 quick and 4 arts cards because of their first skill. So the only thing that really truly matters is their natural NP gain rate and their star gen rate. But even DW is like, nah, that's not good enough. Let's just give them absolutely broken hits. Like, truthfully, this servant could have gotten away with just having like 3-hit quick cards, 3-hit arts cards, because their first and third skill pretty much facilitate this quick and art style of gameplay that they can afford to take the hits on the hits, ironically enough. But they have 5 hits on both of their quick cards, 4 on both of their arts cards, a natural 10% star gen stat, and a natural 51% NP gain attack, which is absolutely dummy nutty insane. It's so dumb that they have this, which you might be thinking, oh, well, that's just average, but I'm like, dude, you just don't know about their skills and how insane it is, and you also probably are forgetting that they have all of the Avenger passives as well. Yes, for some reason, DW was like, let's just give Dioscuri all of the Avenger passives, which, by the way, if they're going to do this when Alcides eventually comes to the game, big brain Fate lore people know who I'm talking about. If they're going to bring him to the game and they're going to give him all of the Avenger passives, he's also probably going to be stupid broken. Because if you're not aware, the Avenger passives basically give you passive NP every turn. If you get breathed on by a slight gust of wind, you generate your entire NP back. It's just absolutely disgusting. Not to also mention that just for whatever reason, they have a special divinity passive. Usually divinity just gives you like this tiny buff to your damage, but no, the Dioscuri twins also just get a passive 5% buff to their NP gain and their star generation rate. So for whatever reason, they just have 60 million different passives that are all really good on top of their already high natural hits and their already really decent average NP gain and star genning abilities. Like, it's just absolutely disgusting, and we haven't even gotten to the skills yet, which, truth be told, let's just dive into those because this is what actually makes the servant stupid broken. This first skill right here is honestly like the only thing they probably could have, and they'd still be an absolutely broken servant, but they also have other skills on top of this. This first skill turns their quick cards into pseudo arts cards and their arts cards into pseudo quick cards, because they get on attack buffs for 3 turns where anytime they hit you with a quick card, they auto generate 10% NP. Keep in mind, they do have a quick buff in their passive. They have a quick buff on a skill. They have NP gain buffs built into their passives as well, and the quick cards already gen NP as is naturally. So this is just giving you an extra 10% NP every time you attack with the quick cards, and every time you attack with their arts cards, they drop 10 stars guaranteed. Keep in mind, that's the one weakness of an arts card, is that they don't naturally drop stars, and so they just completely get around the issue of arts cards not having a natural star genning ability by forcing them to auto drop 10 stars. Meaning you do an arts brave chain with them and you can just drop 30 stars bare minimum right there, as well as refund a lot of your NP because you just did an arts brave chain. And then you can set up your quick chains next, or at least a quick brave chain, because they can't actually do a full quick chain because their NP is arts. But then you can actually allow those quick cards to crit, which will let them not only do more damage, but it'll also buff their NP gain even more, and you can kind of see how this starts to spiral out of control very, very quickly. This first skill is one of just the most broken things I've ever seen on a servant, because they're just like, what if we just made your cards that are specifically meant to do one thing? What if we made them do a whole bunch of things? It's like why Koyan Sky is also so broken, because she said, what if we took the Buster card that doesn't naturally gen any NP, and I just let it gen NP, except they're doing this for 2 different card types instead of 1. So hopefully you guys can see why this makes them so dummy broken, and why it just facilitates an absolutely nasty style of gameplay. But then we can move into their other skills, starting off with skill 2. This may look a little underwhelming to some people, but just let me explain why this is also really broken. It's buffing the entire party's NP damage and their attack, both on 15% values for 1 turn, and then giving everybody 1 instance of debuff immunity that lasts for 3 turns on a 5-turn cooldown. Why is this so broken? Obviously, yes, I would like it to last for 3 turns so it's a bit more efficient, but this is a double buff to the entire party. If you're not aware, different buff types in FGO actually multiply into each other. Meaning this is not just a 30% buff to the entire party, it's that 15 times 15 right there. That's actually an insane buff that they're giving to the entire party and themselves, because keep in mind, like I mentioned earlier, they also have a card buff for themselves. So not only do they double buff the entire party to provide an immense amount of damage to everyone, but they also triple buff themselves, which allows them to do disgusting amounts of damage. And then the debuff immunity is a nice cherry on top. They did not have to do that for the entire party, because this is very useful in challenge quests, obviously, where bosses are throwing charms, stuns, terror status, attack downs, NP damage downs, lowering your defense, hitting you with buff block. The fact that they can just give this to the entire party gives it increased value, because let's say you're using them with double Castoria. Castoria can't really make use of their quote-unquote charisma that they're double buffing with, but they can take advantage of the debuff immunity so your casters don't get debuffed. So it just is supremely powerful on 3 different levels. If you're using 2 different DPSs, they love it. If you're using 2 different support casters, it keeps your casters in the game and prevents them from getting locked down by the enemy bosses. It's just a supremely powerful skill. And then you have their third skill, which is just, again, kind of a completion to the package. If skill 1 and skill 2 is the cake and the cherry on top, skill 3 is the box that you put the nice cake in, because it's just kind of topping everything off with a nice 20% buff to their quick and arts cards that lasts for 3 turns on a 6-turn cooldown, and also give them an evasion for 1 turn, so they have their own form of survivability. Keep in mind that quick buff is closer to a 28% quick buff, because they do have a passive 8% buff to their quick cards, which is understandable, because since they're an art servant, they don't need the arts buff as much as they would need the quick card if they're going to be doing this hybrid style of gameplay, so I do like that decision. And this just kind of helps out their damage a little bit by allowing them to triple buff their arts, quick, attack, and NP all together, which just makes them very, very powerful. And then the evasion obviously is just very good to keep them alive. But if you thought that's where everything ended, if you thought, okay, well, maybe that's all well and good, but what does their NP do? Is their NP broken? Absolutely. Their NP just destroys any bosses, and this is completely unnecessary, to be honest. They did not need to do this at all. But their NP not only has built-in Pierce invincibility, but it also has built-in Pierce defense, meaning the only way you're not going to get smacked to the dome by their NP is if you have some ridiculously high special damage resistance, right? If you're just some random boss, it's I only take 10% damage from servants of this type, right? Unless they have some weird cringe like that, they are always going to smack every enemy in the face with their NP. Their NP is completely unavoidable. It's packing 8 hits on it, meaning you can easily do refunding with this NP, but then it also smacks the enemy that they hit with this NP with an arts and quick resistance down of 10 to 30% for 3 turns, meaning every time you fire their NP, which they're very good at looping their NP, you're going to be doing more and more and more and more and more damage, which kind of fixes the issue of their second skill only being 1 turn. It's really the second skill gives you a massive gassing up for your first NP, but then because you keep smacking them with an arts down and a quick down, your arts and quick cards, which the NP obviously is arts, are going to be doing more and more damage. And here's like the really funny thing, if you look at them on the damage chart, they're rather high up there when they haven't been buffed at all. Like, usually one of the first things a servant gets when they're going to be buffed by the Lightworks is usually some NP damage buff, but the Lightworks have not touched this servant at all, and they still remain in the top 6 of the highest single target damaging Saber class servants, which is absolutely insane because you got to remember that people that are in that same area code are Musashi, Sigurd, crazy servants like Okita. It's just absolutely insane that they're able to maintain that position despite all these other broken servants getting all these different buffs, and yet they're still just Bing chilling over here with some of the best servants in the game. So are they worth summoning for? Absolutely. Is this like a must summon video? Oh yeah, they most definitely are like a servant I would say you must summon for if Castoria wasn't right around the corner. Again, because Castoria is going to be coming out in like a couple of months, I would just highly advise you go get your Castoria, then you start picking out all the servants that you want. You start looking for them, trying to scoop them up whenever possible. Do keep in mind they're not locked in any stretch of the imagination. They're not story locked, they're not limited, no nothing like that. So you can realistically get them whenever you want. You got to remember that as like a generic servant, they will be going on a lot of just random banners for raid ups. So you got to keep that stuff in mind as well. And again, they should, don't quote me on this, but they should be on the second 5-star ticket that we get for the 6th year anniversary. So just keep all that in mind. But with all that being said, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. What do you guys think of the Dioscuri twins? Again, I think they're absolutely phenomenal. I think they're a nutty, broken servant. In fact, before Melusine came out, they were just the servant I preferred to use as my arts DPS. And then, well, we all know what happened with Melusine. Melusine's absolutely stupid broken. But that's going to be a story for a different time. Again, don't forget to like the video, subscribe, all that good stuff. Peep the links down in the description down below. I stream every weekday over on my Twitch. You can support the channel for free by clicking those first 2 links down in the description down below. The first is for LD Emulator. It's a great way to play FGO or just any mobile game on your computer if that is your prerogative. You can also join my Loot Cakes Alliance down there as well, which basically anytime someone in my alliance spends money on FGO, we all get points for it, and we can use those points to get gift cards and a bunch of other little goodies. So the more people we get, the faster we can get our gift cards. I'm personally trying to get more Google Play cards, so I am just completely ready for when Castoria comes out. And it's even good if you're a free-to-play player, because then at least you do get some points because everybody else is spending in there. So I just see it as a good communal thing. But anyway, boys, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. You guys have yourselves a nice day. Peace, late, guys.